being good at your craft means I can still be a good, kind, thoughtful coach that cares about my athletes, but also be good at what I do. Knowing why the player's playing, if you don't think you can do it, then your effort has already dropped. You're not going to succeed in everything you do, but that doesn't mean you don't try your best.
Was there a time in your life where you were underestimated?
Yeah. I, as a high school basketball player, so I played both basketball and American football. As a high school basketball player, I would say I was a much better football player than basketball player, but I had more opportunities in basketball, and was, I played for a team that was number 2 in the state my senior year. In high school, I was the top scorer and kind of the captain of the team, and we were, like I said, the number 2 team. But simply because of my size, I'm taller than a lot of people. I'm over the average, but I'm very small for a basketball player. So it just, I didn't get a lot of offers and a lot of looks from colleges. Part of that is from North Carolina, and that's basketball country. So everybody and their brother and their cousin and their house cat plays basketball. So that kind of, I think there was a lot of underestimation just because of my size, and so that kind of fueled me a little bit in college to not get the looks like I thought I wanted or deserved. Fueled me a little bit, and that's where I switched to flag football and was quite successful in that. So that kind of was a big motivator, since I didn't get the basketball accolades that I was hoping for. Flag football come in, and I got to play for a team that went on to win two national championships in the collegiate world. So that was pretty cool.
And you now head up the national team for South Africa.
I do. Yeah, I'm the head coach. There's a large team of people that are working on it with Gridiron South Africa and Flag Football South Africa. But I've been, it's very, very humbling to be asked. As American, to be asked to be the head coach of the first South African national team is pretty. I don't take that lightly. That's a pretty honoring and awesome request and responsibility that I'm very honored and thankful to have had the chance to do that.
What is it like introducing a completely new sport to a country like South Africa? We hear of American football, we watch American movies, and it's always the quarterback that gets the cheerleader, and
yeah.
How do you now bring that concept into South Africa, where a lot of people's circumstances are very different?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's difficult because of for a couple of reasons. One, with American football, all the things you see on TV, and whether it be from movies or the NFL or college football, everything you see is with the helmets and the pads, and that's the flashy side of things. That's the big bucks, the money. A multi-billion-dollar industry in the NFL. And so introducing a new sport that is not exactly the same, right? Flag football and contact football are different. They have some fundamentals that are the same. That's been a challenge because, we're in rugby country. This is rugby country. So it's like, why would we play that sport? You guys wear pads. We're tough, right? I'm actually thinking, yeah, you're right. I'm not arguing with you. But trying to convince people and show people, no, it's a different sport. There's different things about it. It has different, physical traits that are necessary, and so that takes some time. We also live in a country that there's a huge, massive socioeconomic gap. That's just go to Santon City and drive 5 minutes and you're in the townships, right? So it's pretty obvious and pretty easy to see the gaps, and that's where I love flag football because it doesn't require a lot of working cap. It just needs a field and a ball, and you can play. So I think some of there's a mental block because of the comparison to rugby. And so some people are just opposed simply because they think it's in competition to. So there's that. I think there's the mental block in financial terms because they see all the equipment necessary for the NFL. And so overcoming some of those hurdles is difficult. But it's been really, really neat. I think that because it's an Olympic sport now in 2028 and South Africa has a chance to qualify, we still have a chance. So 2027 African Continental Championships, the winner of that will be an automatic qualifier to the LA Olympics. So there's still a chance. Like we're not out. And so that has been a great motivator, but trying to drive that down into the younger age group, which is really where the foundation needs to be laid. You can't build a house from the top down. It's been exciting for the adults because they can see the stars, right, in 2 years. Like, I could be on the team. But trying to get people to think towards the 32 Olympics, which is where you get those, your 12, 13, 14-year-olds that in a few years are going to be 18, 19, 20. Like that's where we're trying to drive down. That's been a little more challenging.
And do the players, do they have belief in them to get to the Olympics?
I think some of them do. I think some of them like the idea, but they're not convinced. Again, I don't know any of their thought process and heart. But I think there are some people that are convinced that just give me a chance and we're going to show the world.
Wow.
So let's just see if that shows up on the court or in the field or in any aspect. Yeah.
And the other side of your coaching is basketball.
Yeah.
And you said to me previously, outside of this episode, that I think 2 years ago, basketball was the second fastest growing sport in South Africa.
Mm-hmm. It is one of the fastest growing sports in the world, specifically the 3x3 or 3 side of it, mainly because it only requires small numbers. But yeah, it's exploding in urban areas. The NBA has done a pretty good job marketing in terms of getting basketball to the world. So the only NBA-owned league outside of the United States is the Basketball Africa League. So they operate it here, which is going on now. The Road to Basketball Africa League was taking place last year, and so the tournament for season 6 begins at the end of March. And so, yeah, it's growing. There's been some really good efforts. I mean, if you've been to Sanson City Mall has an NBA store in it, so they're doing a pretty good job of promoting basketball. It's a lot of popularity here in the country, so that's been exciting. Organizationally, it's been a little more challenging because of just finances and leadership requirements and governance things. I mean, it's been a little bit of a little bit chaotic right now within that world. There's been some changes that are happening and things along with the Ministry of Sport and SASCOC that I don't know what that means for all the sport codes, but that has made it a little bit more challenging. But yeah, that being said, there's a lot of really great basketball players and athletes here in South Africa. Johannesburg Giants will represent South Africa in the Basketball Africa League. That Pretoria is being hosted in Pretoria this year. So at the end of March, the basketball world for the Kalahari, I think it's the Kalahari Conference, will be here in South Africa in Pretoria, which is pretty exciting, and see if the home team can come away with a victory, at least for that, which will qualify for the championships, the finals in Kigali, Rwanda.
Sounds like there's a very positive future for sport in South Africa.
There really is.
What is it about sport that you love the most and that keeps bringing you back?
Man, there are so many reasons. Like, I love the camaraderie. I love the team aspect of it. I grew up in a family that my dad was an American football player. He played in university. My mom was a basketball player, and I think just for me, sport was my happy place, my safe place. That was it kept me out of trouble. I didn't get in a lot of trouble growing up, but mainly because I was on the football field or the basketball court or the baseball diamond or something pretty much all the time. So it was, I don't know. I mean, I think there's so many life applications to sport as well as I look back over some of the most influential people, both friends and coaches and people in my life. A lot of them were coaches and just how sport kind of played a factor in that. So yeah, I always find myself finding a basketball court or a football field or something. No matter where I am, I want to be involved, and I think it's a cool thing that you can hear my American accent. That with all the travels, it's easy for people to pick out, oh, you're American, but it doesn't matter the moment you step on the field. You're just now you're a bunch of friends that never knew each other enjoying something together. So I think that's really cool.
And you mentioned you had different coaches over the years. What did the really good coaches in your life do differently?
This may sound so simple, but they told me what to do to make corrections. I've had a lot of coaches and I've seen a lot of coaches that will say, oh man, do better. Well, what does that mean? Like, okay, I'm trying to do better.
Work harder.
You don't have enough effort. Put your heart into it. And I'm like, I don't know what this means. Like, I'm doing my best. And so the good coaches were, rather than, they were all encouraging in the same way of, hey, I really want you to do your best on this next play, but here's what I want you to do. And they give me clear instructions to say, and if you're throwing a football, I need you to make sure that your foot position is correct. You were off on that time, so your foot position does this. Your footwork, or on basketball, your elbow was flopping out, so get that elbow in. And so it was like clear instructions on how to do better, not just telling me to do better without giving me instruction. And they just kind of invested in me. I had a number of coaches that were very helpful and loving in that way, and I had a few that couldn't care less, and it was pretty obvious. So, I think that was the big difference. Is it felt like the coaches, they weren't coaching because they wanted to coach. They were coaching because they truly wanted to see the athletes improve and do well, in whatever sport code that they're in. So I thought that was a big difference for me. Hindsight, looking back, in the moment, I didn't think a whole lot about it. But now looking back, I'm like, okay, I liked this coach because, and so I'd say that was my reason.
Sounds like quite a selfless job, coaching.
It is. I mean, I've coached now for almost 20 years in different capacities, assistant coaches, head coaches, sometimes just showing up and being an extra body to help with drills. But you can tell the coaches that are there for reasons other than just, you can tell when there's selfish motivation, that it's about themselves, right? They're the win at all costs kind of things at the expense. Yeah, the ego's there. They want to win at the expense of the athletes. I mean, the yellers and screamers and the ones that pitch fits all the time. A lot of times they're upset because they are more concerned with their image of looking bad as opposed to improving the athletes and helping them become young men and women, or whatever age they are, improving them in the particular sport code and in life. So yeah, it should be selfless. I don't think it always is, but it should be.
If you're enjoying this conversation and you want more perspective, stories, and life lessons, then please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much. Part of your job is to win.
That's true. I think there's an important aspect of, I think we've been going through this interesting dynamic especially as an American looking at American sports. I think it's happening some globally as well. Excuse me. But the point of a sport is to win the game or win the race and to beat the other team, to manipulate. We run misdirection plays. And so there's an element of deception, I guess, that you can say in sport that kind of is counterproductive to, character development in some ways. And so, but that doesn't mean like you can't encourage, good sportsmanship. And then, coaches just being good at their craft. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of coaches that love the sport. Maybe they were an athlete growing up and they played and their school said, hey, you're a teacher now. You used to play this. How about you coach? Well, that's great. But that doesn't, they still need to, being good at your craft means I can still be a good, kind, thoughtful coach that cares about my athletes, but also be good at what I do and understand the game and be a student of the game as much as they are a teacher of the game. So I think that dynamic is often, they get disassociated when they really need to be brought back together a little bit. It's not just about winning, and it's not just about, everybody wins, no losers, all this. That like there can be an element of bringing it together, but it's kind of takes intentionality.
And how do you balance that where you're treating people as athletes,
Yeah.
but at the same time, that you're treating them as a human being?
I ask the question, no matter what sport, where I'm at in the world, of course, I have my own core values that I adhere to, and I won't deviate from those. But then I have to ask the question of who is playing and why are they playing? And that helps me know how to coach them. And so that I can navigate that. And sometimes even on the same field or the same court, you have different people playing for different reasons. And so that's kind of, I'll have my overall coaching philosophy and methods and the way that I run a practice or expect things to be done. And that doesn't change. But my interaction with you versus my interaction with this next person may be slightly different because your reason for playing is different from theirs, which, you might be one of those guys that I can be a little bit more, come on, man, I need you to, pick it up a little bit. But this person may be dealing with something, maybe playing for a totally different reason, that they don't really care about the sport. They just want to be with their friends. And that's okay. Like that's not a bad thing. But motivating this person is going to be, I'm going to have to use a different tactic. And so that's kind of how knowing why the player's playing, it matters. It changes the coaching style a little bit. So you can have a proper, effective coaching style and help each. I think sports should be for everybody. I don't think that there should be anybody that should ever be eliminated. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody should get to play at the professional level, but they shouldn't step on any given court and feel like, oh, I don't belong. I don't, there's a way that a coach can pull that along and then help them find their spot. And maybe that does mean a different team, but, coaching them in a way that they, they feel like a human and helping them achieve whatever goals that they have set forward with the reason that they're on the field or the court in the first place.
It's quite refreshing to hear, actually, because I feel like a lot of coaches, a lot of leaders have their own way of doing things, and sometimes have a one-size-fits-all kind of attitude, and they don't individualize it to different people working underneath them or in their team.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, and that's where if the reason somebody is coaching, that's, they need to ask themselves, why am I coaching? Right? Like why does each coach coach? And some of them have their different reasons. And, I don't want to critique each person's reason of good or bad or whatever. But if they don't know why they're coaching, then it's really hard for them to have a clear set plan and approach to interacting with people. And it also, if they do know why they're coaching, it's usually very obvious, right? So for instance, if you've got someone that I'm coaching because I want to be, have these certain amount of accolades and I want to be the winningest coach or whatever, then their coaching style is going to reflect that and they're not going to care so much about their athletes. So I think it does there are a lot of coaches out there that they don't know why they're coaching, or they honestly just don't care about the athletes. They're more about themselves. And again, that doesn't mean they can't be a good coach in the sense of effective on the court or the field. Like, they may be effective, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're good with the people. And so I don't know. That's a good. I think you've made a very keen observation.
Well, one thing that I've also seen, another observation of mine,
Okay.
is that often you get a team full of superstars, and they've got the best players in the world, and everyone backs this team. Everyone puts their money behind this team because they've got the greatest players in the world with the most experience.
Team USA basketball, right? Go ahead. Sorry.
And we often find that those teams don't perform as well as a team full of, hate to say it, but average or mediocre players that have a good chemistry and work well together.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think you see that, and a lot of that comes down to a lot of it comes down to coaching, the ability of a coach, the respect that the coach has from the players. I mean, you get, Team USA basketball should never lose ever, just to be perfectly honest. They should never lose because they have the greatest and the best basketball players in the world. Now, that's not to say the European players are coming on. There's some really great, the Serbian teams, those sides are solid. But just from across the board, you can pick Team USA. But there's games that are close, or they'll lose a tight game. And a lot of it is because the egos on the court. And some of this goes all the way back to not just the coach that's on the sideline in that moment. It goes all the way back to the coaches in the establishment and the development of the players from the start. The way that they, are propped up and put as, you're the next coming of the greatest thing ever. And they prop themselves up, and they're not really coached and taught to be teammates. It's all about their own accolades, and that. So I've always said I'd love to coach a team of superstars, but team of superstars is probably the biggest nightmare to coach ever.
Yeah,
It's a whole lot easier to coach a bunch of guys that are solid, but maybe not the best, but are willing to work together, because they're going to rely on one another, and you're going to get better ball movement on the basketball court. You're going to get more sharing the ball on the football field. They're going to work together as a collective, whereas the coaching on the side is sometimes hard with the superstars, because they want to make sure they get theirs, right? They want their flowers.
and I'm sure you're dealing with a lot of the fine line between arrogance and confidence.
That's a very fine line, because I want every athlete that I coach to step on that field with full confidence that they're going to complete the task and that they're going to be able to do everything. Like, that's important. If you step on and you don't have the confidence, you've already given away a part of your ability to even succeed in your part, let alone whatever the defense does, right? If you don't think you can do it, then your effort has already dropped. So that confidence is extremely important. Every time when I was a player, I played in high school, middle school, high school, university. I always, in my mind, believed there's nobody on this field that can cover me on offense, and there's nobody on the defense, or no one can stop me. That was my confidence, but the arrogance come out in, usually the way I interacted with my teammates. And so if I was, if I started chipping with my own teammates, then it became more of an arrogant aspect, which created division within the team. And so that fine line is important to walk. And I think a coach really can help foster that and say, hey, it's okay to be confident. But the moment you move over into arrogance, that's when you're overconfident and you're not taking into consideration that other team is equally confident. And they're trying their very best to prove that you are not the best. And arrogance, that's why you see a lot of these really good teams that you would think should never losing simply because they underestimate and they're overconfident, and that arrogance slips in.
Perhaps arrogance comes in when you actually speak about it. Because I find on the golf course, when sometimes I'm confident and I know I'm playing, around with my mates the next day, and it's not super serious, but we have a little bit of banter between us. And whenever I get a little bit cocky and a little bit arrogant and saying how I'm, we're going to thrash them, I never win. I never win. But in my mind, if I'm maybe thinking, I'm going to destroy you today.
Yeah.
I still have a good chance of winning, but it's almost as soon as I put those words out into the universe and someone else hears it, I'll have the worst round of my life.
Yeah, I think a lot of that, I don't believe in karma or any of that stuff. I don't go that way. But I think what happens is just the moment you start expressing it, you're fueling their fire. But you're also, because you're more thinking about your ability, you're on the golf course, you start losing a little bit of the mechanics in it. You're like, we've got you, and you step up there and you forget, oh, okay, I had the ball an inch too far forward that time because I wasn't paying attention. I'd already decided I was striping this ball and it was going to hit the middle of the fairway, and I got up there and I was jibber jabbering, and then get up there and hit it, and you've got a slice coming around, and it's like, oh man, but you lose a little bit of focus. So I think there's a lot of reasons for that, but yeah, I mean, I think it could be losing focus. It could be just fueling the other person. I don't know. I just, I don't know if there's a set answer. I just think that there's a lot of times that the arrogance comes out, and it definitely plays its role in your approach to the task before you in some way, shape, or form.
And like you say, then it fuels the underdog.
Yeah.
And perhaps in your example with the Serbian basketball team,
absolutely,
I'm sure they absolutely love to think that the Americans think it's a walkover already.
Yeah. I mean, that's absolutely, they want to be underestimated. They want everybody to think. I mean, this last Olympics, I mean, Serbian team was great. The French national team were really great, and for them, they're looking at the U.S., obviously, size-wise, it's multiple times larger than both of those countries with a lot more pool of players to pull from. And so for them, even a close game is still a victory in a lot of ways. Not, obviously for the professionals, they never want to lose, but just keeping it close is kind of this, there's a little bit of pride there to kind of come back and say, guys, you're like 10 times bigger than us, and you're barely winning. Yeah, I think that it does fuel their fire a little bit.
And finally, I've got one question for you.
All right.
What is something you've learned in sport that someone can apply to their life?
I would say that ultimately one of the top things would have to be just the ability to kind of persevere through adversity, and doing so together with a team. So, I mean, there's no basketball team that is going to play a game that they don't give up some points. And if they do play a game where they don't give up points, then they shouldn't be playing in that league, right? That's the NBA team against, sixth graders, right? But there's going to be failures. You're going to make a mistake. You're not going to make every shot. I mean, the best shooters in the world, I mean, you look at Steph Curry, he still missed his three-point shots half the time. I mean, right? Half the time he misses. The best, running backs, I mean, you get a running back that's averaging over 4 yards a carry, you're like, wow, they've got a pretty good year. I mean, you get, some of these guys they're Hall of Famers, didn't average that. And they still had great careers. They had a lot of touchdowns, but 4 yards is not a lot. I mean, that's like 3.5 good steps, right? And so they failed quite a bit. Quarterbacks are not throwing it 100%. They're throwing it, and you want to have a completion rating of higher than 60%, 65%, something like that. So my point being is there's a lot of failure that comes in sport, and it allows you to, I missed the shot, I missed the throw, I dropped the pass, I got stopped short of the line. Get back up, try it again. Life throws you curveballs. It's not always, you're not going to succeed in everything you do, but that doesn't mean you don't try your best. It doesn't mean you don't do it with a good attitude. And if you miss a shot, and every single time you're shooting a shot and you have a bad attitude and pitch a fit and get mad, the coach is going to be like, "Come on, man, you got to sit on the sideline." That's where I think it just teaches a lot of self-control and perseverance. And so that's something that I would say is one of the good life lessons, is just persevere, because life's tough. It doesn't always go our way. And I think that stinks, but it's the reality.
I love that, Ant. Thank you for today's conversation. That was awesome.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you having me. It's fun. Thank you for the coffee.